with Paul Banasiak, who has a big Muay Thai fight coming up at Lion Fight 36 on Friday, April 28th. Paul, how are you? Welcome to the Love MMA show.
I'm doing well, always.
Good for you. So how's the weather up there in Connecticut today?
I don't want to talk about it. Well, actually, today is good. No, today is good, but still, my standards got set high. You go throughout life when it comes to women, excitement, weather. Your standards get set. Spending a long time in Thailand, Bali, Indonesia, and now even 70 degrees is a little tough to deal with.
How is training camp coming along for you?
It's really well. One of my main goals was just to replicate the style of training that I was doing in Thailand, but make it more efficient. So it's not really like scientifically based. I have a background in health and exercise science, so I just try to combine the amount of hours I was doing in Thailand and being able to just do it more efficiently once I came back. And I think I have a pretty perfect routine of that. It took a little bit of adjusting, but by now it's putting in between 4.5 to 6 hours a day and doing that 6 to 7 days a week. And I don't really feel too overtrained most of the time. So I think that's a big positive.
Good for you. I looked through some past interviews this morning, and in some of the interviews, I would say you're, quote unquote, a very adaptable fighter. That's what you said yourself. Can you talk a little bit more about this for us?
Yeah, a lot of people ask me if I'm an aggressive fighter, if I'm a counter fighter, do I just like to stand and bang and things like that? And I think it's always how I described it. I just adapt based on the fighter and the situation. I think a lot of times it depends, how many rounds, like what are the judges. I've had fights where I knew it was a boxing crowd and boxing judges, so I would go a little bit more hands heavy. I did boxing earlier on as well. I was a Golden Glove finalist. So, I put that into my mix. I feel like I just have whatever arsenal available to me. So whatever's presented, I just try to use it and abuse it once it starts working. So, I always depend on the situation. And that's not just in fighting. I think it's just more of my personality. When life hands me something, or whether it's negative or positive, I just try to take it and use it as a way to adapt and just get a little bit stronger. I mean, that's how I ended up in Thailand in the first place. I totaled my car, and I used that as an excuse to, not to have any bills over my head, and I was pretty much free. So I used it as a ticket, as a freedom to get to Thailand and to live there for close to a year.
Good for you. How was the training for you in Thailand? How did it help you, make you a better fighter?
I think it was something that was very much needed to elevate me to the level that I am now. I think Muay Thai is a very cutthroat sport, meaning that guys start out and they might have 4 to 5 fights, and if you put on impressive performances, then you are expected to fight top-level talent and veteran fighters, as I am, April 28th. So, I always had that mentality, and I say the same thing to my own students, is, a lot of guys have a handful of fights and they want to go professional, and, to make a few $100 or whatever it is, or to call yourself a pro fighter, it's just, it's not worth it, because it's a very short-sighted way of looking at it. So I always had the long-sighted way of looking at it. I fought everyone possible on the East Coast until it was really hard to get matchups. And then even then, I didn't want to go pro here, because I believe I would be on smaller shows, kind of stuck doing that, and then still kind of grinding my way up and not challenging myself as much. So I just wanted to do it at the utmost extreme possible by just being a sponsored fighter. Like I honestly, financially, I would be able to do it as a paid fighter, which is a completely different experience. And I chose to do it as a sponsored fighter to kind of live that kind of lifestyle and be forced to train, whether I have a fight or not have a fight, to train through taking antibiotics, infections, injuries, and other kinds of, trauma, or dealing with things back home. And I think all of that together just prepared me for my first opportunity back in the States, which is, on the biggest promotion back home and as a co-main event in my hometown against a veteran fighter. So, I think it was a much needed experience. It wasn't pleasant until the end, where pretty much it was finished, but it was much needed. That's the way I pretty much have been explaining it. It wasn't the most pleasant experience, but it was a much needed experience.
Now, we were talking just a few minutes ago about training. You and your opponent, Brett Hlavacek, have actually trained, I read, at the same gym in Thailand. Is that true?
Yeah, that's correct. It's a thing of energy, I believe. We ended up there in the beginning, and he was hosting a camp at Kong Sita Gym in Bangkok. He was like an American representative, just kind of bringing people together from all over the world. It's something that's run through the owner of Kong Sita, Muay Thai guy, and the Nak Muay Nation staff. They put together these camps where they bring in fighters from all over the world that just kind of have the same mindset. And he was the host of the July camp, and I was the one right after in August. So I ended up arriving a few days early to get settled in, and he was still there for extra few days. So we ended up seeing each other. It wasn't anything of note at first, just because I wasn't professional at the time. So I was still an amateur fighter, and I was planning to take my first professional fight in Bangkok on Super Muay Thai on Bokao's promotion, which is a rather bigger promotion out there that's televised. So at the time, it wasn't anything, to think about, but I did want the fight as after my first professional fight, and I started to think about Lion Fight coming back. I did want that fight, and it is an idea I pitched to Scott, but nothing came of it. And at the end, we actually ended up, so fast forward 8 months or so, and I'm going into Bangkok to fly out to Bali to do a little bit of work with Tiffany Van Soest to film for Nak Muay Nation, and we crossed paths again for a few days.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so it kind of came full circle. I was sitting. I don't know if you know Sylvie Van Douglas. She's a Westerner with the most fights in Thailand. And I was filming her fight, and we were talking, and she asked who I would like to fight, and I said Brett. I just thought it was a good opportunity for me, kind of a win-win fight in a way, and a way to challenge myself, but still take a win at the end of the day. So I was talking to her about it, and there was no talks of this for months with Lion Fight, but right after this talk and bringing it up, I looked at my phone. I had a text from Scott Kent, a direct message on Facebook, and he asked if I can make 185. I said sure. It's my first time I'm going up a weight class, and I said yeah, sure. And then he said, all right, so we'll put you up against Brett Hlavacek. So right after having the conversation, months later, and it just came up. It almost like manifested itself, energy.
Good for you. What does fighting Hlavacek mean to you?
I think it's a test of many things. I think it is a test of how much I have grown technically as a fighter, as he is a very technical fighter. I think on an athletic level, I am above his. I think I'm a little bit hungrier, younger, and a little bit more athletic. However, that experience and all of those years of technique, especially from the Watt under Phil Nares, brings its own weapon, right? So timing, I think, is a lot more important than even having athleticism. So I have learned myself not to rely too much on my own athleticism. I feel like I'm a 185 pound guy that doesn't really get tired. So I do tend to use my endurance and then whatever bit of explosiveness I do have to my advantage. But I've spent the past year just working on perfecting my techniques, timing, distancing, becoming a very, very clean fighter, as I really respect the art in it. So I'm looking forward to testing that against Brett. So that's what it means to me.
Interesting.
Is testing the past year of what I've learned, and just kind of coming full circle once again, because I was fighting his students, So it's really interesting to see someone that was a professional before I even knew what Muay Thai was. And
wow,
then
yeah.
in my come up as an amateur, seeing him opposite corner coaching the guys that I'm fighting against, and now, fighting the person that taught them. So it's, like I said, everything kind of coming full circle.
What kind of challenges does he present? You're a southpaw. Hlavacek is orthodox. You also have a height advantage over Brett.
Yeah. Just that experience factor. I just have to be really precise, making sure I don't make any mistakes. I think that's the biggest challenge here, is just taking the pressure of everything. I can say the pressure is a challenge. It sounds good, but honestly, right. I think I perform the best when I'm under a lot of pressure. It is my hometown, so a lot of my friends, family will be watching. I have a big following on social media, so everyone that follows me on there will be watching on TV. People from Thailand that I associated myself with, and also the pressure of, what has this done for me? It's kind of people will judge me and what I've done in the past year based on perhaps this single performance, and I like that. I kind of really like that pressure. I'm trying to take it, and I think it's the way that I kind of brought myself up. Is my first fight at Madison Square Garden. The experience was on another level of the guy that I was fighting from the Netherlands, and that's something I went from basketball courts, fighting in basketball courts, to fighting at Madison Square Garden in a sold out crowd. And that was my best performance thus far. It was the same way when I was skateboarding, snowboarding, doing other sports. Like whenever there was more eyes on me, more pressure, that's where I would just smile and, just go in that flow state where I just perform my best.
It's interesting. Speaking of Madison Square Garden, you have an impressive list of titles and championships as well as tournament wins. Can you share this list with our fight family?
Yeah, the first time that I fought at Madison Square Garden, it's kind of a neat story in my own head, just because I remember my first full rules fight that I actually lost. I was undefeated for my first 2.5 years or so. I started rather fast. After only 6 weeks of training, I took my first fight.
Wow.
We didn't have much here in Connecticut. It's crazy how Muay Thai has grown in the past 6 or 7 years. I started about 6 years ago, and I remember just going to this garage as being the only place with legitimate Muay Thai. I was a student from Sityodtong under Mark Delagrati, and training with him, and it was still a very old school way of doing it. It was a single car garage with 10 to 12 people. And my first day, it was just I got Shark Tank. I didn't get taught any technique, anything like that. And I got Shark Tanked on my first day, and I had a sore jaw. I still remember, because back then you think eating cereal is healthy, and I just remember not being able to eat because I got head kicked. I didn't know how to block it, and this pretty much happened for 6 weeks straight. Just getting beat up, thrown in with the wolves in a way, and I think. And that's kind of stuck with me since then. I just feel like I can fight. There's certain fighters like Nate Diaz, guys like that, where they can scrap. I just chose to get a little bit more clean as time went on. So, yeah, Madison Square Garden. I was fighting at what used to be Take On, and it was my first full rules fight. And I remember being backstage, and the co-main event fighter was hitting pads. This Dutch kickboxer, Jason Van Nooyen. He's from the Netherlands, came to the U.S. and reset his record somehow. But anyways, he was undefeated at the time. He was 8-0, and he was hitting the pads. It was just so crisp, so beautiful. That explosive Dutch style is just so aggressive, and it's really pretty to watch. And it was the first time seeing it in person live. So I was just watching him. He's like a Men's Health magazine model as well. So he's just shredded to pieces and just hitting the pads. And I looked at my coach, and I'm still 19, 20 years old, just super skinny kid. I looked at my coach. I was like, I want to look like that one day. I wish I can look like that. It's crazy. And my coach was like, if you keep training, it's possible. And 1 year to the date, I got a phone call, and they asked if I want to fight at Madison Square Garden. And then my coach said, "There's just one." He goes, "There's just one catch." And I was like, "What's the catch?" He's like, "Remember that guy you were watching backstage? That's your opponent." and I just, with the biggest smile on my face, I was like, "That's crazy. Let's do it." You know, it was just this experience. I'm like, this is like once in a lifetime. I was still. I was going to clinicals. I was looking to become an anesthetist at the time, and I remember it was like my second semester in clinical after 2 years of pre-med, and I kind of I let my test kind of go to the side, and I let all that go to prepare, and I dropped him in the second round with a head kick.
Wow.
He went down, then he went down again. I rocked him again. The third round, I kind of beat on him some more, and then there was some controversy about like a split draw happening. Like one of the judges gave me like a 30-26, you know, like just like all rounds plus the knockdown, and then one of the judges giving me like a 28-28, and one of them being like a split. So it was pretty much like a majority draw despite what happened, but regardless of that, it was, you know, the guy I was looking up to, modeling to, you know, and a year later, I ended up dropping him with a head kick at Madison Square Garden, sold out crowd, and I just remember thinking that day, like, I think I can do this. I think I really can do. I really think I can do this. And, you know, fast forward to the end of the semester, I quit school. Well, you know, I finished a different degree just to get it done, but I quit the medical field, like looking at working in the medical field, and moved on from there. Muay Thai ever since, yeah.
And the rest is history, as they say, correct?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, but the other arenas has just pretty much been, just continuation of that. Is I look for anything exciting, you know, something different, something exciting. You know, it's like I always look in my own head like everything's like a little movie. So it's just being an athlete at Madison Square Garden. It's like, you know, like a bucket list thing, and I try to,
cool.
You know, I'm trying to enjoy the journey. So then, like being on Team USA, that's another checklist thing. My great grandfather was on Team Poland for the Olympics. For
really,
he was a
wow.
runner. Yeah, he was a runner. So, you know, we don't have the Olympics for Muay Thai yet. You know, crossing fingers that it'll happen, but this was kind of like my equivalent to that, to be on Team USA, take the national title, to go to Spain and to take 2 golds for Team USA, fighting Netherlands, fighting the UK, fighting Spain. So, you know, just getting all these different nations there. And then came back. I tried to challenge myself. You know, I took 1 national title, then I took 2 world titles. Then I was like, I'll go back to the nationals. I'll just try to sweep all of them, take 3. So I signed up for Glory Rules Muay Thai, Full Rules Muay Thai. I took all 3 of those titles. And, yeah, just trying to challenge myself and find exciting ways to do it.
How did you get the name The Reaper?
So that initial coach that I talked about, he would always teach how to knee. And, you know, like how beginners, they kind of like squeeze their hip up and it's all tight and it comes up. So he would say, like, no, you don't knee up. Like you always want to aim for like the solar plex. You always want to aim for the chest, and you don't want to go up. You want to go through them. You want to go through their soul. Like you want to reap their soul with that knee. And I was just one of his students that just took that like to heart. And my first 6 or 7 fights, I finished with knees to the solar plex.
Wow.
Pretty much, like. It was like over and over again. It was just the same thing I was setting up, like teeping, fake teeping, knee to the solar plex. And then when I went to the Worlds, I did the same thing against to get my gold. The coach told me to just skip in the knee and to just aim the knee for his stomach. I'm like, oh no, I'm taking this kid's soul. You know, I'm just kneeing him in the solar plex, and I caught that. So I think I have. As an amateur, I had 7 or 8, like around 7 finishes with knees to the solar plex. And you just see the soul leave their body. It sounds corny in a way, but it's true. Is like you tap them and you just know it's gone. Like you see that look in their eyes. And then since then, I actually kind of came away from that style, but I've always had better conditioning, better cardio. So it's not only dropping someone with a body shot, but kind of seeing when their conditioning fades, when they just see the look on your eye that you still got it, and they don't, and then it leaves them. So there's always that moment.
You know, you have a very interesting website called MuayThaiathlete.com. By the way, fight fans, you should check this website out. Chock full of information and tips. How did you get the idea to start this website, and when do you have time to work on it?
And this is something I'm trying to figure out myself, how I find time. But, you know, I definitely do my best from the beginning. You know, whenever I was a kid, like when I was a kid, we talked to this prior to getting on the line, is that I was videotaping myself and kind of logging everything I was doing since I was a kid, like second grade, third grade. I was filming me and my friends skateboarding, and I would be editing videos and kind of journaling the whole thing, how I'm getting better. And I like to study myself a lot, whether when it comes to mindset or when it comes to studying my technique, but just watching video and kind of analyzing. So I was doing that ever since I was a kid. And I guess once I transitioned into fighting, I just kept doing it. I just switched to fighting, and the niche became fighting. It went from fitness at first. It was actually called like Paul Lee Fitness, and it was just such a broad thing, you know, how fitness is, and there's so much information out there. You just get kind of like thrown in a pile, and it's just really tough. So I was thinking of just specializing in something, which was Muay Thai. So I just continued the same journey with Muay Thai. It's a way for me to be creative. I've never been a very artistic person when it comes to like the actual skill of art, let's say, like drawing or writing. I have terrible handwriting, so it's really nice to be able to go online, express my words in writing. I think I'm a good visionary. I think my visions usually come to life, and if they don't, I get really frustrated until they do. So it's just my way of you know, putting it out there, hopefully reaching other people, and that's what it's kind of served for me. At first it was a hobby, and now it's just like become a part of the journey just because of the people that I've met through it, and the feedback that I have gotten, the messages, the emails, and etc.
Very interesting. Before we go today, is there anyone you want to thank? And please tell our viewers how we can follow you.
Yeah, I just, you know, I want to thank my whole team here in Connecticut. I think it's something that's never been done before, just because Connecticut is not known for Muay Thai or many things at all. You know, it's kind of like this isolated state here. And, you know, New York has its huge crowd, and California and the West there has its own crowd. Florida has a bit of it as well. So to come from this state, I definitely had to have a strong team of supporters around me to come out of it and be able to be successful in some type of way. Like, I don't think I'm successful in like the grand scheme of things, but, you know, in comparison to like in the state here, to be able to come out and to be able to do this. Like, I feel super blessed to be able to. So I want to thank everyone at the gym, Thornton Martial Arts. So we're a Sit-Yul-Tong affiliate, so I want to thank everyone from Sit-Yul-Tong Boston that I've worked with. I want to thank my sponsor, PMP Supplements. I want to thank NACWay Nation for the freelance work, for kind of showing me the ropes when it comes to a lot of the online stuff as well. Kind of helping me with that was Sean Fagan there, Lawrence Kenshin, everyone that was there, and all my fans, just everyone that has been supporting me from the beginning. And I think I have a really loyal following. I don't have too many people that kind of come out and say negative things, and I think I like to support. I like to surround myself with positivity, and I think people get the point. Whenever negativity comes out, I just cut people off. So it seems that I have the right people around me right now. So I want to thank everyone there. And if you want to find me, the second part to your question, www.muaythaiathlete.com. That's my blog. If you want to get more of like the personal stuff, you can listen in Muay Thai Guys podcast. We have that on iTunes, which me and Sean Fagan. A lot of times we have therapy sessions on there where, you know, we spill our emotions and a lot of personal stuff, as well as, you know, providing a lot of tips, motivation, and things like that. And then I have at Muay Thai Athlete on Instagram, at Muay Thai Athlete on Twitter, and pretty much everywhere else. If you go on YouTube, type in Muay Thai Athlete, you'll find, you know, Paul Banasiak. So, yeah, that's all of it, I think, there.
Yeah. All right, fight fans. I want to wish Paul good luck at Lion Fight 36. And don't forget, you can catch that fight on Friday, April 28th on Access TV, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Paul, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Really appreciate it. Have a beautiful day.